Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Grebner Show. This is Scott Kerker, along with Metamora head coach Jared Grebner. Coach, you had your hands full last week. You went over and played a very good and a very, very big Pekin Dragon team. They were probably the biggest team we've seen all year.
Yeah, they're big up front on both sides of the ball. But then it's kind of double trouble for us because not only could they run the ball really well and effectively with those big guys up front, but they have the ability to spread you out and make you play sideline to sideline as well. And so they make you defend the entire field, which presents a lot of problems for you. And then same thing defensively. We were able to get some points on the board, but we had to kind of use our talents appropriately with those big guys up front. But it was a game that was kind of back and forth. Didn't look the best there at first. The game was kind of a roller coaster ride, but the kids kept battling, and unfortunately we came out on the wrong end of it on Friday.
You came into the game a little shorthanded. Your starting quarterback was out with a shoulder injury. So you had to move your son into quarterback, moved him from wide receiver to quarterback. He played there as a freshman. So he had a little bit of experience of running an offense. And you kind of went with the option. And, when you look at your personnel on your offensive line, we're not the biggest team. But you've got a lot of speed in your backfield. And that kind of an offense really may be conducive to what you've got up front. And, as the game wore on, I thought your offense really started to click. And I thought you guys did just an unbelievable job of taking what you had and making that work and making it work pretty darn well.
Yeah, those offensive guys, the coaching staff, they do a tremendous job of putting our guys in positions to succeed. And going with the strengths of our team, of some of the backs and receivers. But the thing is, you come in with the game plan and everything, and by the end of it, we just said, hey, let's just do what we do. And, man, we opened some things up around the outside, and then all of a sudden, they have to defend that, and you can increase some things there in the middle. And, Owen Clellan had some great kick-out blocks. Evan Grove had some great blocks as well as pulling guards. And so not every play was perfect offensively, but those guys, they made some holes. You sit there and you watch the game, and they were able to get us some creases up the middle for some big gains and some explosive plays. And then, that helps, with the outside game because they got to load the box a little bit more, and then the outside game helps, the inside. And so kind of goes hand in hand, and, that's one thing those offensive guys do is, like I said, is just put us in a great position to be as successful as possible.
The first half, it was defensively very, very tough to control. They were so big. They were close to, 300 pounds across their front line.
They're big.
They're big, and they were tall, and they were strong, and they did a lot of things really well. And they had some weapons, too, and you throw that into the whole mix, and that made for a very tough combination to defend. And, you went in at halftime down 28-8, and, you start thinking, okay, Metamora, this is Metamora. You have to start showing, show some heart, show some guts. But at halftime, whatever changes or adjustments you made, phenomenal.
It wasn't, throwing the baby out with the bathwater or anything like that. Bottom line is, it wasn't any magic potion or anything. Those kids, they have a lot of pride, as any player does when they put that Redbird decal on their helmets and stuff. That means something, not only to the players, but it represents a lot of players that have come before and the ones that are going to be coming in the future as well. And it's just a tribute to those players and the hard work that they put in, because they'll never quit. And that's just the bottom line there. we just got back to what we were doing offensively, defensively. Coach Simmons does a good job with the special teams, and we were able to get some onside kicks, get a little spark going. But because we were having a hard time stopping them in their offense, and so credit them. So we tried to take a couple risks and shorten the field for them, one or two. Have a chance to get the ball back and steal a couple possessions, which we were able to do that twice. And so, that was a little spark for us to get us going. And Tommy did a great job with those kicks, putting them where it needed to be. And so when you get that and you come out in the second half and you get a little momentum, there's no magical play that was going to be worth 3 touchdowns or anything like that. And so we knew it was tough mountain to climb. The kids climbed it, and then it became a back and forth game, and it was a real good game. Somebody had to come out on the wrong end. Unfortunately, it was us this time around. It was kind of back and forth like that with Morton, and we ended up on the right side of that. And so that's kind of how this conference has been when you start to look at some of the scores and some of the comparative teams. And there's some really close games, and Pekin was just another example of that on Friday.
They scored right before halftime to go up 28-8, and then you had to kick off to start the second half. Not a good combination.
Correct.
and Randy Bagol, the guy that does the games with me, he made a comment. He goes, it may not be a bad time to onside kick. And you know what? You guys came out and you ran the perfect onside kick, and it was just a thing of beauty. And would it take you about 4 plays to get into the end zone?
Yeah, Jadon was able to bust a long one off. They just had him by the shirt tail. His T-shirt ended up ripping, I believe it was that possession.
Yeah.
And we got down inside the 5. Took us like 3 plays from inside the 5, but I think that was the one Evan was able to get in on and stuff. And so, and that got us a little momentum. Didn't get the next onside, but we did.
Almost, though.
Almost. We did hold them. They ended up missing that field goal, and so we were able to score again right there on our very next drive. Got the next onside kick, and we're able to.
A really good one, too.
Right up the middle.
Right up the middle, and Tommy didn't really have to battle with anybody. There was nobody there.
And that was just the different zones that he's always worked at kicking, and he does a great job on it. He works on that all the time for us, and we're able to use that as a weapon, and maybe something we can utilize a little bit more in the future.
I know that our sideline reporter Ryan Vogel was awfully jealous of Tommy Sopko Friday night.
He probably didn't get those opportunities that he got.
Well, we teased him quite a bit about we finally got a guy that can run that, do that play. We finally got a kicker that can do that.
No, Ryan, he was a great kicker. He's a great athlete all around, whether it was safety, receiver, baseball player. I'm sure if we would have asked him to, he would have found a way.
Yep, I think so too. But Friday night it was fun giving him a hard time with that. But you got, and every time you'd make those big plays, your offense responded. You held them on the field goal. I believe it brought it back out to the 20. And then you guys put together you went 80 yards in about 6 plays and scored to make it 22-28. You get the onside kick that we just talked about up the middle. And I think that only took you about 3 plays. And I think Jadon scored that touchdown too. And you still had 2.5 minutes to go in third quarter. You're up 29-28.
And then they come right back down and score.
Yep.
Kick off to us, and then we go up again.
Yep.
We're able to score.
35-34.
Yeah, and then I believe that, I don't remember off the bat if it was the go-ahead touchdown when the kid dropped it at the 1.
Yep.
And then they ended up throwing the fade into their left corner of the end zone on their sideline, to go up. And then we had unfortunate turnover there on an exchange later on the game, when you're kind of driving to go back up, because there for a while it just looked to see who was going to have the ball last. And,
yep.
That's who was going to win.
Even after that fumble, though, you guys held them. Your defense did a great job and held them.
That was finally, we were able to get off the field. I think that was their first and only punt of the game right there at that point. And then we still had another chance, kind of put ourselves in a long down and distance for the end, and just didn't quite work out there.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. You almost got I think, a third onside kick. When you pooched it into the middle, and you just about got that one too.
So it was close, but that's those kids. You just never know what's going to happen as you're, playing the game. You just don't know how that ball's going to bounce. It's not a round ball.
No,
It's
not very true.
It's not, and you don't know what kind of bounces you're always going to get on the grass either.
The thing that got me in that game, and I told you this before, I hate when Metamora loses. It bothers me, and I don't sleep well. And we're not the type of program that accepts moral victories.
Correct.
But there's something about showing heart,
Yeah.
and your kids showed a boatload of heart and pride, and made that a game. And when that game was over with, your kids were hurting a little bit. They and I don't want to say it's good to see that, but it showed the pride and the heart that those kids have, and I think this loss is going to help you guys down the road.
Like you talked about moral victories, we never really looked at that. If you're any type of competitor, whether you're playing a board game at home with the family, or whether you're playing football or anything else, you always want to win. But when you look at that game and just how the team stuck together, it does show you a lot about their character and who they are as individuals, and more importantly as a team moving forward. We always say that you always learn something from even the wins, the losses, and everything like that, whether it's the coaches or whether it's the players, game plan, or whatever it might be. And that's one thing that you can say you truly learn. We believe that we had those types of kids, but until you face that type of adversity, you don't actually know. And those kids were, true to themselves and true to the team, and they are exactly who they thought they were. To kind of quote Dennis Green back when they played the Bears. But we have the type of kids that they have the mettle to get the job done whenever they have adversity, and so you're proud of them for that. Would you have liked to come out on top? Absolutely.
For sure.
Losing always leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but the way our kids fight and the effort they give, you'll never fault them for that.
We'll get to the reason you guys had 3 kids that rushed for over 100 yards. Evan Kyle, Avery, your son, and Jadon Cranford. They all rushed for over 100. 2 of them had over about 170 yards.
Jadon was like right around 170. Avery was around 150, and Evan was a little over 100.
That's fantastic.
It is.
And we'll get to the reason why they got those yards here, after the break. But you didn't throw the ball. I think you only threw the ball twice.
Threw it twice technically. Once was called. The other one was actually on the option. It was just a forward pitch, and so it counted. So it boosts our passing stats there a little bit. So you get that first completion for Avery under his belt.
Yeah, it was underhanded.
Yeah.
But very, very encouraging. Down the road, that if you're in a game and you need to make maybe a change to change the kind of the way the game is going, you can go to that. And I think your kids could make that adjustment in probably 1 or 2 plays.
Our kids are able to adjust and adapt to a lot of things. They're very coachable kids. They're resilient, and they'll always do what's asked of them. And so I'm looking forward to getting back on the winning track this Friday. The kids are going to be hungry for a win, and we're just thankful that we get that opportunity to go out on Friday and try and put our best foot forward.
Why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll tell you who the players of the game are, and we'll talk about your upcoming game against Limestone and the rest of the Mid-Atlantic Conference.
Central Illinois, you asked for it and we listened. Germantown Grill is growing to meet customer demand, adding more dining space and a private gaming area featuring games powered by Gold Rush, the gold standard in video gaming. And Germantown Grill still has all the food and spirits that keep our customers coming back. Stop by to check out our daily specials. The game's on at Germantown Grill, where Central Illinois loves to eat. Open 7 days a week, just off Route 116.
Welcome back to the Grebner Show. Before we go on, I want to make sure we thank Sarah and Jake Atkins again for letting us use the Germantown Grill. Like we always say, it's really, really nice of them to let us do the show here, and it's always fun and get something to eat beforehand. It's nice.
Great place to come any time of the week. Great place to go after the games. You'll see a lot of the kids here.
Yep.
So we always enjoy their hospitality here.
For sure. We talked a little bit about who we wanted to name the players of the game, and I thought you had a great idea. You said, let's just name the entire offensive line and name the guys up front.
All right. At left tackle, you got one of our senior captains. He's our only returning starter there. And you're gonna put me on the spot, and I just totally blanked.
Landon Cowper.
I almost said Owen Cleland, but he's not the left tackle. Yes, Landon Cowper. Thank you very much, our only returner. Then we got at left guard, we got Owen Cleland, and then we got Owen Cabell at center. Then at right guard, we have Evan Grove, and then at right tackle, we have Riley Blue.
Yeah, and those guys have been doing a really good job, and they've kind of grown up a little bit in the last few weeks, and now they're starting to be the ones that are doing the pushing around. And I know one of the coaches from Pekin, and he said your offensive line was really, really good.
Yeah, and they've made tremendous strides when you look at them from even week 0 versus Chatham, and then as the season's gone on to where they were last week in week 6. Gets the juices going a little bit, get you excited for where this team can go. All season long, people say that's been a question mark for us. They're young, we're a little inexperienced and stuff like that. And those kids, they just come to work every single day, and you can see that hard work paying off because they're not a question mark by any means. They do a tremendous job for us. Coach Otto has done a tremendous job bringing those guys up to speed and getting them where they need to be in a hurry. Kind of the glorified linemen. You got some of the tight ends like Riley Jackson. You got some of our H-backs with Cam Nickel and Colin Morrison and those guys. That, they do almost just as much block, and they get to wear an eligible number of those. So possibility of catching a ball there, but Coach Urban does a great job with those guys as well because they're integral in our run game and our blocking schemes. And so those guys up front, they don't always get the recognition that they deserve. A lot of times you'll hear about maybe a wide receiver or maybe a running back or a quarterback or whatever it might be. And all of that happens because of those guys up front working as a cohesive unit. And I'm proud of how far they've come in a short period of time. And like I said, not just myself, but all the coaches, the rest of the team, we're only going to go as far as some of those big guys up front can carry us, and we're just going to keep riding their coattails and see how far this thing goes and how far they can take us.
Yeah, I thought they were pretty good at the beginning of the year, but they've improved each and every week, and they've had to pass some pretty significant tests. They've had Washington with a big front line. They had, Morton with a big front line. And maybe the most physical front line so far has been Pekin. Pekin's been very, very good up front. They were big, strong, and it seems like everybody's got a big line these days, though.
Yeah, and these guys, they just keep meeting the challenge. Fundamentally, with their footwork, pad level, head placement, whatever it might be, there's always still something to refine and to get better at. But sometimes it's just adjusting to the speed of the game as well. And these guys are starting to really gel. And I'm looking forward to Friday night because every single Friday night, these guys get better. And it's fun to watch.
Yeah, that's for sure. You have Limestone coming up at Limestone. New turf field over there this year. And that'll be an interesting game. You've got a few dings, but that's okay. That's what you practice for, and you guys have always done a good job if you've had to replace anybody. I'm really looking forward, though, to seeing, like you said, how we react after a loss, and to come in and play a Limestone team. A little bit down this year, but there's still a high school football team that could bite you if you don't come in ready to play.
You never play the game on paper. The one thing you never want to take for granted is the opportunity to take the field and play the game of football. It's a sport where you don't get very many opportunities. You're guaranteed 9, and sometimes you're not even guaranteed that because you might get dinged up here and there. You might have to sit out a week, and so you get 9 for sure on the schedule.
Right.
And then you go from there, and so it's not a sport where you get 30 games or anything like that, or you get to have 30 matches or whatever it might be. And so each one of those Friday nights are special. And then if you're fortunate enough to play week 10, week 11, week 12, or whatever it might be, those Saturdays are even more special.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal that you want to keep getting to, and that's why you got to keep getting better every single week. And sometimes it's all about playing yourself. Are you getting better as a team? Are we getting better as a team? And so are we better today than we were yesterday? Or are we better this Friday than we were last Friday? And sometimes it's not even about who's across from you. It's about, did you execute to your ability? Did we play to our potential? And are we able to make adjustments when necessary? Because all that's going to become a factor down the road.
So it's more about yourselves than it is about your opponent.
And that's how it is every single week. There's always wrinkles that we put in there, X and O wise, but can we get better every single week in practicing? And does that translate on a Friday night?
You look around the rest of the Mid-Atlantic Conference, and Washington is they're doing what we kind of thought they would do. And then the rest of the conference is all kind of clumped up together, and how that shakes out, we'll see week after week 9. But there's still some interesting games left to be played.
Yeah. You look at some different games that are coming up. You still have Washington Dunlap. You still have Washington Morton. You have
Metamore
Dunlap. And you still have Morton Dunlap, and there's a lot. And then we got East Peoria, week 8. Of course Limestone this week, and so there's still a lot of games that when you look at the top of the conference standings right now, I mean, it's pretty bunched up. It truly is, and you got a lot of teams sitting there, at 2-2 or right there in that
the conference,
in that range, or 3-1, and so you never know what's going to happen on a given Friday night, and so that's why you got to be at your best every single Friday, because you don't know how things are going to shake out, and you can go from 2-2 to 5-2 in the conference in a hurry, or you could be 2-2 and all of a sudden be 2-5 in the conference in a hurry if you don't watch out, and so that's why we always say don't take anything for granted, because these Friday nights are special, and playing in the Mid-Atlantic Conference is always a tough task, and you're always going to have to be ready to go, and we're just lucky enough to be able to play the game and to be able to have those opportunities.
Underclass teams are starting to play some really good football. They're both won this week.
Correct.
So they're getting healthier as you go along, and that's always nice to see. And it's starting to look like you're starting to play some of your best ball as the season starts to wind down, which is a good sign.
Correct. Freshmen had a good win over Pekin. They were able to throw the ball, run the ball, and kind of all facets there. Played pretty well on defense as well. And so seeing those guys improve every single week, because not all those guys played JFL or anything like that, and so sometimes those guys were putting on the pads for the first time, and sometimes you see the kids play a little bit faster as their confidence grows, and they kind of understand, the speed of the game, their assignments, and some of them are learning football for the very first time. And so to see the progress that those guys make is always fun. JV had a nice win last night as well.
Got a B game in at the freshman
got
level.
a B game in, and they won that one too. That was kind of came down to the wire also, but we came out with the win. So we got a win at the freshman level. We had the B game, which is always really important because kids mature at such different rates, and so to make sure that all our players have as much playing experience as they possibly can, and to have the opportunity to get on the field and to learn and to get in is always really important, and to try and find those opportunities is invaluable. Thanks to Pekin for coming out and playing the B game with us, and then right afterwards we were able to sneak out that victory against Pekin in the JV game. I thought they did real well. They ran the ball well, had some great completions, and defense was flying around and making things happen also. So it's always good to get those wins.
For sure. Coach, good luck tomorrow night over in Limestone. Bring home a W. We'll see you Friday night over in Limestone.
Thank you.